Hey everyone, wanted to make another little video today pointing out something that people still don't seem to understand. So I love to say that Bitcoin Cash has fast, cheap, reliable transactions. I say Bitcoin Core is slow, expensive, and unreliable. A lot of people take issue with me saying that it's slow and unreliable. They all say, oh, it's expensive to use. That's great. Pop the champagne, blah, 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 blah. That's nonsense. Of course it's expensive to use. Everybody knows that that's paying attention. Although they love to ignore that sometimes and say, oh, today it's cheap. And it's, well, do you want cheap transactions or do you want expensive transactions? Like the official party line for Bitcoin Core is that they want expensive transactions. But when the fees are cheap, they all cheer again. So like they cheer when it's expensive, they cheer when it's slow. That's a double standard. It's a bunch of nonsense. But today I want to talk about it being slow and especially unreliable, right? So here I have a chart from blockchain.com. You can see the URL where you can see this chart for yourself. And it's the average confirmation time for Bitcoin, BTC, Bitcoin Core transactions. And we can see that the whole time back in 2016 and whatnot, the average confirmation time was about 10 minutes, right? Because the blocks were every 10 minutes. And as the blocks became fuller and fuller, the average confirmation time got to be longer and longer, right? So in 2017, it started to be a really time. I look at this in March of 2017, the average confirmation time, 200 minutes here for some of them, or even 137 minutes. That's more than 2 hours was the average confirmation time. And on top of that, they made it worse with this whole replaced by fee nonsense. Later in 2017, the average, confirmation time was getting to be, hundreds of minutes, 800 minutes. That's more than 10 hours was the average confirmation time in June of 2017. 10 hours, almost half a day is the average confirmation time there. So more than 10 hours. That's actually more than 12 hours there if you add it up. So more than a half a day on that particular day. But when it really got bad was at the peak of the Bitcoin mania here. Look at this. The average confirmation time, 11,453 minutes on the Bitcoin Core network, right? 11,453 minutes, right? So we'll take that and we'll divide that by 60 minutes per hour, right? So that's 190 hours is the average confirmation time, 24 hours in a day. The average confirmation time was more than a week on the Bitcoin Core network at that point. More than a week was the average confirmation time. So of course, Bitcoin Core is slow, expensive, and clearly unreliable. If you have to wait more than a week for your transaction to go through, that's not a reliable network. As somebody who's been using Bitcoin for payments since 2011, I need something that's fast, cheap, and reliable all the time, not just some of the time. And that's why I switched myself and my infrastructure, my business, and my payments and everything over to Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash doesn't have intentional full blocks. It doesn't have intentional more than a week-long waiting time to get your transaction included in a block. There are more times than I can count where I spent more than $1,000 in fees on the Bitcoin network for a single Bitcoin transaction on the Bitcoin Core network. That's not a reliable payment network. That's not a fast, cheap, or reliable payment network. That's not a payment network that merchants are going to want to use at all. And that's why we've seen so many businesses around the world, from blockchain.com to coinbase.com to bitpay.com to bitcoin.com, of course, starting to use Bitcoin Cash because of its fast, cheap, reliable payments. That's what the world wants. That's what the world needs. That's the tool that'll bring more economic freedom to the world. I hope someday Lightning Network will allow for fast, cheap, reliable payments, but right now, today, it doesn't. And there's another company, I made the mistake, I suppose, of investing in them back in 2014 probably. And they were mad because I was complaining to them, oh, you guys are doing the same thing now. You're trying to do the same thing with Lightning Network that you were able to do back in 2014 when I invested in you. Why are you excited about this now? And they were really mad, and they went on social media and they said, oh, we're embarrassed to have an investor that would complain about what we're doing. Well, you had 5 years, and now you're doing the exact same thing 5 years later after I gave you $50,000, I think it was, back when Bitcoin was a lot cheaper. You're trying to do the exact same thing now with Lightning Network that you were already able to do back in 2014 when I gave you the money to begin with. And so they contacted me and they said, oh, we want to buy out your stake in the company. And I said, good, I'm happy to do that. What price do you want to do? And they said a price, and I said, okay, I'll gladly do that. The only requirement is you have to pay me with Lightning Network. And then they went silent. Because they know they can't use Lightning Network to make $50,000 payments, and you can hardly even use it to make small payments. It's not reliable enough for commerce yet. I hope that changes. I hope it'll work. I hope it works great someday, but it's not there today. For right now, today, Bitcoin Cash can work fast, cheap, reliably for everyone, every time, all over the place. And try setting up a Bitcoin.com wallet and permissionlessly using Bitcoin Cash. The longest step is to download the app, so you can do the whole thing in like 30 seconds. If you want to use Lightning Network permissionlessly, it's an entire day project. It'll take you hours and hours and hours to set that up. So if you want to use Lightning Network where you're trusting somebody else, no different than PayPal, sure, you can do that pretty quickly. But then you're just right back to where we started with before we had the invention of cryptocurrencies. So that's why I'm a fan of Bitcoin Cash. That's why I wanted to show you guys right here. Here's the exact data. Bitcoin Core transactions are incredibly unreliable. At one point, it was more than a week for the average confirmation time there. This is crazy. Why would anybody use that? So the only thing that Bitcoin has is the name recognition that was built up by people like me that made it useful in commerce to begin with. But now with the Bitcoin Core wallet, removing BIP70 from the wallet so you can't pay BitPay invoices with it anymore, it just shows that the Bitcoin BTC blockchain developers are openly hostile to its usefulness in commerce. The people that actually want cryptocurrencies to be usable as peer-to-peer electronic cash for the world and usable by businesses around the world, they're busy building mainly on things like Bitcoin Cash. And anyhow, that's it for this video. If you want to trigger a Bitcoin Core maximalist, share this video on Twitter and Facebook and social media and point out to them that Bitcoin Core transactions are slow, expensive, and unreliable by the intentional design of the Bitcoin Core developers. So that's why I switched from Bitcoin Core to Bitcoin Cash. And if you're looking at using cryptocurrency yourself, you should make that switch too, because Bitcoin Cash transactions are fast, cheap, and reliable, while Bitcoin Core is slow, expensive, and unreliable. So see you all in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.